Is your kid smart but seems like they're not trying? Won't apply themselves, avoids coming to the table, easily distracted? There may be more going on than you realize. It took me until halfway through 4th grade to realize that something was going on with my oldest son. I just kept checking the boxes and moving on until multi-digit multiplication just became way too much. If any of this sounds familiar, let me share what did and didn't work for us. I'm Mary Ellen. I homeschool in a neurodivergent family, and I share real-life parenting and homeschooling strategies for families like mine that are navigating ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and other learning differences. My mother and one of my sisters has learning struggles in math. One of them is an advanced practice nurse, and the other one is a paralegal. Both very successful in their careers and in life, but they've had to figure out strategies along the way. I say this so that hopefully you can breathe a little easier and trust that eventually your child will also find their own way. But I also know, being a homeschooling parent, it can also be super frustrating when your child is having a hard time. It's hard to figure out how to meet their needs, and they're often resisting you while you're trying to figure it out. That added responsibility of being their teacher can take the stress of the responsibility to a whole new level. I'm sharing this with you today to hopefully help you and your child gain a few tools to lighten the load a little bit. I want to walk through exactly how we worked through math fact struggles in our home, a low pressure flashcard technique that worked for us, and what to do when it's still not clicking. And also stay tuned to the end because me and my son are going to do a short session in real life. Sometimes it can be kind of tricky to understand what's going on with your kid. So let me share a little bit about what was going on with my first son when we were doing math. To be honest, I didn't realize that there was a problem until halfway through 4th grade. And I was a homeschool parent that was doing math with him. Because the thing is, it wasn't that he couldn't do the math. It's just that he wasn't fluent in his math facts. So it took him a longer time to get the answer, but he could always get there. And since he could always get there, I just kept moving on. But the thing is, once we got into 4th grade, then when we were doing multi-digit multiplication, that's when things were getting a lot more intense with us. He was avoiding a lot more. He was so easily distracted. I would have a hard time just getting him to the table to work on math. He was doing a lot of avoidance behaviors. And then one day it just kind of clicked, and I just realized how much brain power he was using just to do one problem. And so then I had to reflect and reassess the situation. So one of my good friends that was homeschooling, her daughter had also had a hard time with math, and they had tried times tables, and her daughter did really well with it. So I tried that, and my son loved it. It's little videos with a fun little story that helps you memorize the math facts based on the story. And he did well with it. We progressed through, and then we moved back on to multiplication. But the more we kept moving on, once we returned to our regular curriculum, what happened was he was still taking a long time doing his math facts because now he was trying to remember the story that went along with the numbers. And so then that would take a while to then get to the answer. So he wasn't doing math computation. He was now trying to remember the story. And so it was this whole nother part of his brain was trying to remember the story. Then he's going back to the math, and it was becoming too much for him. So that did not work for us. So then I finally just took a way back step. And I got MUS AIM Curriculum, and we did that. And that worked great. And then since we had a lot of success with the AIM curriculum, I bought the beta curriculum for kids. So I moved all the way from halfway through 4th grade all the way back to 2nd grade. I know it seems discouraging to do that and feels like you'll never catch up. But honestly, if you have gaps, you're just going to be trudging through the waters and never really catching up because you just need to get your foundational stuff done first, no matter how long it takes. So he was having a hard time with rounding and with place value. And so once he figured out those two tricky areas, the rest of the curriculum he went through pretty fast because he already knew his math facts. So we skated through that curriculum, and then we went to the next one and the next one. We've been slowly improving about 1.5 grades per year, but we're catching up and we'll get there eventually. But again, he's going to have his own academic journey. So now he returned back to the multiplication, and I noticed it was still a little sticky for him with the MUS. So then I used Kate Snow's Sticky Facts, and we've been going through that program.
And we're almost done with that. And then we'll resume our Math UC and continue on with what's next for him.
Okay, so why does fluency and math facts even matter? Math facts are actually not the point of math. They're a tool that makes everything after them seem easier. When a kid has to stop and calculate 7 plus 8 every single time, there's little room left in their working memory for the actual concept of the problem, especially in multi-step problems, word problems, and when a new skill is being taught. So fluency isn't about speed for speed's sake. It's about clearing space in the brain. Once my son had his math facts down, we moved through curriculums way faster. He wasn't spending all of his mental energy rederiving 6 plus 7 every single time. Now, math interventions are going to look different for each kid. And just like our neurodivergent world in general, each kid is going to have different needs. And so the math interventions may look different for each kid. So the first thing you need to figure out is, what do they need? Have they memorized their math facts? Now, when a kid learns their math facts, it's going to take them a while. So if they've finished first grade and maybe a little into second grade and they're still having a really hard time with addition and subtraction, you may want to look at solidifying the math facts before you keep continuing into harder things.
Some kids will never memorize their math facts. I'm just going to put it out there. But I do feel like giving it a real try to get there can be helpful for your kid.
If you have gone through the curriculum, you notice that they're still slow at it, still haven't figured out, this is where a math remediation program would help your child, and that's a good place to start. So 2 that I like that we've used in our house are Math UC AIM Curriculum. They have one for addition and subtraction, and they have another one for multiplication and division. We've used the addition and subtraction one, and I learned a lot from it. It uses different parts of the brain and different sensory activities to do to learn the facts. And studies show that learning information, whether it's math or other subjects, in different ways where you're using different parts of your body, like touch and hearing and seeing, those can all help with automaticity when learning information. So I think Math UC does a really great job at accomplishing this. And it comes with different games and activities to do, how to memorize those facts, and it comes with little flashcards where you can track your progress along the way during the curriculum. Now, another one that I like that I have is by Kate Snow, and it's Math Facts That Stick. I really like this program as well. It's very quick and easy for the parent to read over what it has you do, and you pretty much do the same pattern over and over as you're learning the different facts. And she has different games for each day, and then after the games you do a worksheet to practice those skills, because studies do show that writing down information makes you more likely, or makes it easier for you to make that information more automatic or to store it better in your brain. So I think she does a great job with that. The only thing that I felt like was missing with this program is flashcards like the Math UC has. So you can still use the Math Facts That Stick series, but my suggestion is to also add in a warm-up of flashcards, and I'll go into more of that a little later in the video. But basically, what you're going to do for Math Facts That Stick, you would do the lessons as the curriculum suggests, but after you finish that math fact, you can add that family's math facts to your warm-up and you practice that way. This will give you a better idea of what they're still having a hard time with, and then it'll give you more practice to help with the automaticity. So the next category of where your kid is mathematically would be, okay, they know their facts, but they're slow at retrieving them. And so in this case, flashcards and a tracker would be a great tool to use as a warm-up before you start your math lesson to give them extra practice. And then the next category would be just maintaining. Okay, they know their math facts, but if you have kids that are neurodivergent or have like dyslexia or other learning differences, they need a lot of repetition and practice, because sometimes, even though it seems like they know it at the time, they can lose that information later. So you can just add a little bit of practice before you start your math lesson to keep those math facts sharp and to decrease regression.
And I just want to reassure you that many neurodivergent kids, especially if they have learning struggles, this will just take a little longer. And that's okay. So for my second son, his math journey has looked different. So when my son was done with Math with Confidence in first grade, instead of moving him directly on to second grade, I took a little bit of time, took out my math fact tracker, and quizzed him for a couple of days, seeing how many of the math facts he knew. He actually knew them all. So then that told me I could move on to second grade math, but I still use my math fact trackers to continue casually practicing those facts. So I'm going to share my screen really quick in case you want to do any screenshots. Okay, so I keep mentioning my math fact tracker, so I just wanted to give you a little glimpse on what this actually looks like. I made a couple of bullets to let my kids know what they needed to do, and then I just have all the facts. And then I have check boxes under each fact that they can check off once they've gotten that fact right under 3 seconds. And each of my kids have one. And so I keep mentioning flashcards also. So this is the method that I use when I'm practicing with my kids. And that session of me and my son doing it will be at the end of this video. So I set a timer for 2 to 5 minutes. This depends on the kid. Now, if I know that they know a lot of their facts and they rarely get them wrong, I might do the longer end of the time. Or if we're having a day we really can't do a lot of math, but they could just practice their math fluency, I might go up to 5 minutes. But 5 minutes can be a long time. So they can just do 1 to 2 minutes. They can do 5 cards. They can do 10, whatever you want. A lot of times this is just going to be a warm up, so you don't want to get them too fatigued before the actual math lesson starts. So you can set it for 2 minutes. And so then you either go the full 2 minutes or you stop when they've had about 3 to 5 wrong, probably especially in the beginning on the lower side 3. But if you have kids that get really dysregulated about getting a lot wrong, then just stop at 1. There's no race here. You want this to be a positive experience, not something that's going to stress them out. So for the correct cards, we're going to praise how wonderful they did, how many they got right. And then they find it on their tracker, and then they check it off and they say the problem again. 2 plus 5 equals 7. And then they move on and they do the next one. For the ones that they get wrong, we do a little bit more to help it be more multisensory. So what we first do is we show it in some way. They can build it with manipulatives, they can draw it. If they have another idea, they're welcome to it. And then they write it. Use a whiteboard, a chalkboard, in your math notebook or a piece of paper. It doesn't matter. Writing it helps with automaticity to the brain. And it's great if they say it as they're writing it. The saying while they're writing is reinforcing it even more for their brain. And then I have them say it again in some kind of fun way. Like on my tracker, I might have say or shout or whatever. It could be a robot voice. It could be like a frog. It could be a whisper. It could be anything that's fun for them just to make it lighter. And then we move on. We put the cards that were correct at the back of the box and the cards that are correct, we put them in the front of the box because that will be what we will work on first next time so that we're continually reviewing the harder things. But since they've done these things, hopefully it'll be easier next time. Now, if you have a kid that gets so super stressed out about having to do the remediation part right afterwards, then don't do it. Just put those cards in the front. Do not make a big deal about it, and you just move on to your math lesson. You just want this to be a positive experience. And then next time, before you start using your flashcards, you can just say, hey, we're going to build this one today before we get started. And then you take that one out and you build it. And doing it this way can help because sometimes you just need a little bit of time so there's not the emotion involved with getting it wrong. And we're not going to say, oh, you got this wrong last time, so we're going to do this now. You're going to say, oh, we're going to build this one today. Can you show me how to do that? Or, hey, I need help building this. Any way that's going to be positive for your kid. Also, if you have multiple kids, if you do not want to get multiple sets or share sets of flashcards like I do, a great multisensory activity would be to create your own flashcards for each kid and then just put a rubber band around it and just keep it simple. Okay, now what do you do if it's still not clicking? So using a math fact reference chart can be a helpful tool. Kids that are afraid of making mistakes, it could be a good way for them to check their work. And also, it's a great tool for kids that you've done the remediation programs, those aren't working. They can get through the higher level math, it's just they can't remember their facts. And so this could be a good scaffold. And I've heard of many people over a longer period of time that eventually their kids did learn many of the facts, if not all of them, from just the continual use, but definitely the ones that they had to seek out often. If they can do the higher level math, it's really not fair to keep them there forever. But I do feel like it's worth the effort to at least try before you move on to the chart. And if you've tried 1, 2, or multiple remediation programs and nothing seems to be clicking, this might be a good time to get an evaluation and to seek some specialist help. A tutor or a therapist that specializes in this. It's okay to outsource with people that have more experience with these trickier learning styles. Okay, so some things to remember when your kid is struggling. Keep your sessions short, keep them positive. Praise when they get things right, and don't make a big deal about the things they're struggling with. Make it silly, make it interactive, find ways that appeal to them. Turn it into a game. Gamifying is great for neurodivergent people. Some neurodivergent kids hate games, and stay away from them then if they hate it. But a lot of them really like it. And stop early if your kids dysregulate soon. Because once they get to that dysregulated zone, no one's learning anything and everyone's getting frustrated, and it might take longer to get them back to the table next time. Okay, and now here's my session with my son that I did earlier today. Okay, let's do our warm-up.
Okay, 6 plus 10 equals 16.
Good.
5 plus 4 equals 9. 9 plus 4, I don't know.
Okay, great. Look at all the ones you got right. Okay, so let's practice this one. We're going to show it. So can you build it with your manipulatives?
9, 4.
Okay, now next to it, can you build it from a 10? You put your 10 first. And then how much is left over?
3.
Good. Okay, so put the 3 there. And so 9 plus 4 is the same as 10 plus 3, right? Okay, so now you've shown it. Can you write it on your board now?
9 plus 4 equals 13.
Great. And now you get to say it in a silly voice. What voice do you want to use? Do you want to shout it? Do you want to whisper it? Robot? What do you want to do?
9 plus 4 equals 13.
Ah, robot. Good job. So now you're going to add all the ones that you got right on your fluency tracker.
Okay, 6 plus 10. 6. 6 plus 10.
Good. And you just check off the first box. 6 plus 10 equals what?
16.
Good. Okay, next.
3 plus 1 equals 4, so let's find 3. 3 here, plus 1 here, so that is 4.
Good. Next.
5 plus 4 equals 9.
Great. And so you see they get a little extra reviewing time by putting it on the tracker as well. I hope that little demonstration was helpful to see how all the pieces would work together. Again, homeschooling is a great opportunity for us to meet our children where they are at. After all, it is their education. Find where they are, keep it low pressure, and let the tools do the work. And I'm Mary Ellen Yates, and this is Growing Together, Neurodiversity at Home. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.